Thank you. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to visit with you today about an organization that hopefully is going to provide some assistance to the zebrafish community. At least I feel like there are some opportunities for this group to access some of the information that is being made available by the National Animal Nutrition Program. This is a program that's been in place since 2010. I'm going to just basically give you some background information about the organization and how it functions and some of the specific services that are available that, again, might be able to contribute as you continue your development of reference diets for zebrafish. So the National Animal Nutrition Program, I'm going to refer to as the NAEP, is a national research support project associated with the United States Department of Agriculture. Was established in 2010, as I mentioned earlier, and its charge is to provide integrated and systemic approaches to sharing, collecting, assembling, synthesizing, and disseminating scientific information, educational tools, and enabling technologies on animal nutrition that will facilitate high priority research across agriculture species. So this is a program that is targeted towards production animals. With the fish being an important aquaculture species, it's included now as well, but you can see all the other agricultural animals that are really targeted by this program. So the poultry, the swine, beef cattle, dairy cattle, like I say now, aqua and equine sciences are all part of this program. And again, as you noted there in the charts, being able to provide educational tools is a part of our program, and again, there are some resources that are being made available through the NAEP that I hope will be able to assist the zebrafish community. The support for this program is by the Experiment Station Committee on Organization and Policy. This is the State Agricultural Experiment Station, so again, it's agriculture-based, and there's also hatch funds that are provided and administered by the USDA, National Institutes of Food and Agriculture. And then from time to time, there are some additional funds that are provided by participating scientists in this NAEP group. So again, in terms of the history of this organization, it was established in 2010 and was renewed and then expanded in 2015. That's when I actually became involved. In 2015, during the renewal process, there was an interest in, again, expanding the scope of the work besides just beef cattle, dairy cattle, swine, and poultry. They decided to involve aquaculture, equine scientists, as well as some of the small ruminants like goats and sheep. Again, this research support activity was requested by a lot of the ag animal representatives in the United States to, again, provide support for their industries. And the focus, again, is to address challenges facing researchers, educators, and support agencies in animal agriculture that fills voids in the research and academic community. So with this as being the focus of NAEP, it's looked to develop certain resources that might be helpful for ag animal communities, but also to other research communities and educational entities as well. My advancer's giving me a little bit of hesitation here. There we go. So again, the USDA NAEP is one of 7 national research support projects that are administered by the USDA. Should I be hitting the screen? Or there we go, maybe hit the screen. So again, supported by hedge funds, and it's administered by prior to distribution of formulated funds from state agriculture experiment stations. This gives you an idea of the administrative advisors associated with the group. So they're, again, represented from state agriculture universities that have agriculture experiment stations. And so these are the administrative advisors. We also interface with the national program leaders in USDA NEPA, including Charlotte Kirk-Bear and Steve Smith. The structure of the committee is there's really 3 separate acting committees. The first is the coordinating committee, and it's chaired by Merlin Lindemann at the University of Kentucky. The coordinating committee is charged with facilitating the operations of the Feed Composition Committee and the Modeling Committee. Feed Composition is chaired by Phil Miller at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and the Modeling Committee, Mark Hannigan at Virginia Tech. And I'm going to give you a little more detail about each of these committees and their activities. Particularly the Feed Composition Committee is one that, in interacting with Steve, we thought would have some valuable opportunities to interact with the zebrafish community. Just a little bit more detail about how the current committee structure was established. Applicants were recruited by a national search and then evaluated by the administrative advisors, and appointments were made based on those reviews. And it took into account the background and expertise of the candidates, their species expertise, wanting to get a broad spectrum of expertise with the various types of agricultural animals. Also geographic region and some other factors were considered in making appointments to these committees. The coordinating committee, as I mentioned, is the one that oversees and coordinates the selection process and works with the feed composition and modeling committees to allow for development of these educational and support resources. It also advises the national academies on critical national priorities, particularly related to the NRC publications. As Ron mentioned earlier, a number of these National Research Council publications have been published and are still in progress. I think right now the poultry update is the current one underway. The coordinating committee also tries to provide a forum to address research support needs, and some of the resources that have been developed specifically do that, and I'll highlight those in just a few minutes. So this is the membership of the coordinating committee. Again, we have representatives from all across the United States, and I might just highlight, I'm not going to go through these names, but again, some of these folks may be in your particular geographical area, and so again, you might be able to reach out to them. I did want to mention that Robin Shane of the National Academies is also on the coordinating committee and is a representative that we interface with a lot relative to NRC type issues. The feed composition committee, which again I feel like probably has the greatest utility with regard to zebrafish research, is charged with bringing together data and research resources in the area of feed composition, and to foster communication among those collecting feed composition information. As many of you probably know, if you look in the back of most any NRC publication, there usually will be tables that deal with some of the common ingredients that are analyzed in terms of their approximate composition, as well as amino acids and vitamins and minerals. Coordinating the compilation and the updating of that information is a fairly significant task, and the feed composition committee has been charged with trying to make this process more streamlined and up to date. And you'll see a little bit later, based on the website that they developed, you can find nutritional information on a wide variety of feed ingredients, be they practical type ingredients or purified or semi-purified ingredients. And also they, again, strive to facilitate efficiencies and consistencies in data collection and maintenance. So in addition to just providing up-to-date compilations of new analyses on these various feed ingredients, they're also involved in trying to make sure that this information is going to be averaged and available for the current research community. And there I got a little bit too fast. Maybe I'll go back. Well, I want to go in reverse. Maybe I'll skip that.
Use arrows.
Oh, there we go. So it interfaces with and supports the nutrient requirement revision committees as requested. This would be related to the NRC publications, because again, all of those publications do try to provide information on feed ingredients along with the nutrient requirements of the species that are being addressed. So this committee again interfaces with the NRC group. I'm going to do the error key. So here's the feed composition committees. It's chaired by Phil Miller, as I mentioned. Actually, the project has a postdoc who is affiliated with this program, funded by the program, and is affiliated with the University of Nebraska. That postdoc does a lot of the day-to-day type work in terms of maintaining the website, updating the information that's on the website. Again, you can see the other members of the committee. I'll highlight the fact that Brian Small of the University of Idaho is one of our aquatic representatives on this feed composition committee. The modeling committee, which probably has a little less relevance to this particular group, but I want to mention it to you as well, simply because in some of the agricultural animals, they have made really sophisticated use of models to look at modeling nutrient requirements, particularly of beef cattle, dairy cattle, and swine. This particular committee is involved in trying to improve the use of predictive technologies and tools to utilize and best utilize available platform for doing this nutritional modeling. They work with researchers to effectively share, combine, manage, manipulate, and analyze models and modeling information, and interface with and support the requirement revision committees as requested. And again, this interface is with the National Research Council and some of the models that are published along with the NRC publications in terms of nutrient requirements, but also looking at models that can be used to help predict nutritional needs. Some of these models are actually, as they're being developed and updated, are available on the NAEP website, and in essence provide like a virtual update of the NRC publications. And here's the membership of the modeling committee. Again, Mark Hannigan at Virginia Tech is the chair. And once again, NAEP funds a postdoc at Virginia Tech to oversee some of the day-to-day activities in terms of updating and enhancing the modeling resources that are available. So again, depending on where you're located, you may be able to reach out to some of these individual committee members if you have interest in knowing more specifically what they're doing in the modeling arena. As I mentioned earlier, the NAEP also interfaces with the National Academy of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, more specifically the NRC or National Research Council with regard to their nutrient requirement publications. They interface and help contribute financially in terms of generating some of the support that's needed for these NRC publications, particularly from some of the production animal sectors that are relied on more heavily these days to provide some of the financial support to allow these NRC publications to come to fruition. And this certainly can impact the amount of time between the revisions. As Ron mentioned earlier, we were able to revise the NRC publication on fish and shrimp back in 2011, and the previous revision had been 1993. So our revision was a long time in coming, and we're glad that it's there now as a reference, but I'm just amazed at how much more information is becoming available, and that particular publication is becoming dated for sure. The feed composition tables, again, is one aspect of the NAEP that provides more of a virtual type of update relative to feed composition, and that's through the website that I'm going to share with you here in just a few minutes. It provides for a much more regular update of nutrient requirement or nutrient composition information on various feed ingredients. The nutrient requirement models, including their development and their maintenance, this is, again, one of the major tasks of the modeling committee, and they have quite regularly held workshops and other educational type events to try to bring people that are interested in learning more about the nutritional models with regard to production animals, exactly how you go about that process. I know, for instance, they just recently had the American Society of Animal Science and American Society of Dairy Science meetings this summer, and this modeling committee held workshops at each of those scientific conferences to try to explain or provide more information about these modeling activities. So here are a couple of different websites that are associated with the NAEP. The first one there, animalnutrition.org, is the one that's really the main website for NAEP. Hopefully at the end of the talk, we might have a chance to go to that. I was reluctant to try to get anything embedded into the presentation, knowing my technical skills and knowing that this was a streaming type presentation. I didn't want to interrupt anything, but again, at the end of the session, maybe we'll be able to look at that website. Another activity of NAEP has been to develop this global animal nutrition network. It's located at a different website, and the idea here was to provide a source of information for anybody working in the area of animal nutrition. That particular global animal nutrition network was being funded by NAEP through Elsevier and their Scopus collection of information. I'd have to say that up to now, that particular website has not provided the kind of information that we were really hoping for. It's been improved to some extent, but we're hoping that it's going to continue to improve. For the NAEP website, I would also mention that we've gone through a transition in terms of our website support company, and we've just actually, since last summer, went with a new company that's really helped to enhance the website and particularly to populate a lot of the information on the feed composition tables. And so we've been pleased with that transition. So here's a screenshot of the website, the National Animal Nutrition website. And those are not zebrafish on the screen for sure. Those are dairy cattle, but we actually do have some fish represented on the website. And what I particularly want to draw your attention to is the fact that at this main site, we have the feed composition section, then a modeling section, and then the publications and some other links on the website. You can go to the feed composition tab, as I'll try to do right here. And from that database, actually, you can have specific databases associated with a global type database or ones more specific for dairy, beef, and swine. This database is alphabetically arranged, starting with alfalfa cubes and fresh alfalfa, probably not two of the more common ingredients for fish diets, but again, it's a compendium of a wide variety of different feed ingredients for various types of animals. Within that list, you can click on specific ingredients and it'll come to tables which gives you information on approximate composition. One thing that I don't think I had in this particular presentation is the feed database resources is another really helpful tab which gives a lot of information on these same ingredients, but maybe more specific information. For instance, the Ajinomoto amino acid compendium is listed there, and you can go in and find amino acid composition of a variety of different ingredients. And then there's some other databases associated with these database resources. Oops, now it went to. This was just to mention before we get out of the presentation, this Global Animal Nutrition Expert Network. Again, it's supposed to be a search engine that helps you with finding information on different aspects of animal nutrition related to, again, experts, topics, and so forth. In this case, I just Googled it and put my name in and tried to search, and I was disappointed to see that it wasn't quite up to date like I was hoping it to be. But anyway, you can find information on individual researchers, some of the particular areas that they're addressing in terms of their research, some of their publications, others that are working in these areas. So again, the hope is that eventually this Global Animal Nutrition Expert Network would be a resource that you could go to search for others that are working in an area that may be of interest to you. And so now if I can get to my last slide. think you must have wore it out, Ron. Okay. Oh, here we go. So I'm just going to summarize the NAEP resources. Again, particularly for this group that's dealing with zebrafish nutrition, we feel like the feedstuff database is dynamic, it's current, it's robust, and again, it's continually improving in terms of the information that's available there. So again, it's a resource that I feel like is one that this particular group may be able to use. I know when I joined the group back in 2015, actually Jack Odell, who is another member of the coordinating committee, had just been at the experimental biology meeting that you mentioned, Steve, in 2016, and was talking about the need for this kind of activity with regard to standardizing diets for zebrafish. And he mentioned it to me, and I guess maybe you reached out to me, or I reached out to you, and we started trying to find these commonalities or some specific resources that might be able to assist this particular group. Also, the NAEP hopes to provide expanded educational options through the website and this Global Animal Nutrition Expert Network, as well as the workshops for modeling of nutritional needs of livestock, which again probably is not as relevant to this group, but it does give you an idea about the NAEP. And if, I don't know if we have time, here's the integrated animal performance databases with nutrient requirement estimates, again interfacing with NRC publications. With 5 minutes, I don't know whether I should just take questions or try to go to the website.
Yes, it would be a big benefit if you were to go, for an example, look at fish meal.
Okay.
Just to show the workshop here, what you can see when you go to those websites.
Okay, so if I can, maybe I can go to the Chrome, I guess, right? And oops, having a little trouble with the. So if I go to, I need to get the numbers locked off, I think. Go to animalnutrition.org if you can.
Oh, you want to?
Yeah.
Some of my technical expertise is showing through as I'm trying to get to the website.
What is it?
It's animalnutrition.org. All right, thank you very much. So yeah, here's the main website. If we go to feed composition, we'll go to the database here. And if we go down, I'm trying to scroll down. I want to go all the way down to fish meal, like Steve mentioned. And let's go to Menhaden fish meal. I need to click again. There we go. So then we go to the tables, and you can find, scrolling down, some of the information, of course, with other production animals. You have total digestible nutrients and a few other measurements, but you've got, again, the general approximate composition and a lot of other information on minerals. I think the amino acids are going to be reserved, or here they are coming down this way, and different terms for energy. So you can find a lot of information on not only these practical type ingredients, but also purified ingredients. I'd also mention this feed database resource, which the first one is the Ajinomoto database on amino acid composition of ingredients, which is it's a very helpful source of information on amino acids. But there's also this Dairy One, Viva Pig, not ones that I'm particularly familiar with, but again, aquaculture feed and fertilizer resources. They even have InfoSat, FDA poisons plant database, Feedopedia, Feed Plant International, so a variety of other resources on different kinds of feed ingredients that might be used in animal nutrition. So with that, maybe I'll see if there's any other questions.
We have time for a couple questions?
How often are these tables updated?
They're being updated almost weekly, at least monthly. That's one of the real important aspects of this NAEP was to provide updates on the feed composition tables, particularly between. They're not just waiting for the NRC to come out with a new bulletin. They want this information to be updated on a regular basis, and so they're going through a lot of different resources to keep these databases up to date. Ryan Dilger at the University of Illinois has been really instrumental in helping to get the website more functional. Again, we had some difficulties with the other company that was running the website, and we made a transition and have really upped our progress in terms of being able to keep this information current. And in addition to just updating the compositional information, they're going in and looking, for instance, at different ways of expressing different fractions of carbohydrates, how you can assess the availability of carbohydrates for different species. So in addition to just the basic information on feed composition, they're trying to expand some of the information that would be available on the different kinds of feedstocks.
Yeah, I wonder about how it's going with the sophistication of lipids. Like, from the most basic, people say percent lipids. Then there's percent fat and cholesterol. Now, cholesterol is an entity, but once you go beyond cholesterol, the complexities of lipids and their biological importance we're just beginning to understand, or even begin to develop to understand. So in the community, I know the omega-3, omega-6 ratio is appearing now, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Short chain fatty acid, long chain fatty acid. So is there a effort to try to understand that in feeds in terms of growth and stuff beyond omega-3, omega-6?
Well, I would say that certainly it's important to be able to provide that level of detail at this point, particularly with the feed composition tables. There is information on fatty acid analysis, some of the other components, non-saponifiable lipids. There may be information like on cholesterol, but the detailed evaluation of all these lipid components is probably not something that we have in these tables yet. That's certainly something that particularly people that are working in the lipids area are wanting to try to delineate.
What about just asking in your knowledge of the community, like people looked at and realized different proteins had different amino acid compositions, and then they saw that there were growth differences with the protein source. Has anyone in the rodent, has there been an equivalent studies of different fat sources kind of trying to relate it to that complexity the way it was done for the amino acids?
My response would be certainly there's, in the fish area, we know that there's a variety of different lipids that contribute predominantly certain types of fatty acids, and we know for all of these aquatic species, the omega-3 fatty acids are really important. Some fish can chain elongate and desaturate the shorter chain linolenic acid. Other species, particularly marine carnivores, cannot at all, and you have to have the long chain polyunsaturated fatty acids preformed in the diet. Beyond that, Ron mentioned astaxanthin or some of the carotenoids. There's interest on the part of certain fish species with regard to those kinds of lipid compounds, but it's a group within itself that has a lot of complexity. In the feed composition tables, I think there is some information. I know on the NRC publications, more information primarily on fatty acid composition of the different lipids. I'm not sure if there's much beyond that. I can't recall.
Delbert, one more time.